everybody, and welcome along to a brand new video where we're still going on through the classic Doctor Who era. We're nearly at the end of the Patrick Troughton era now, the second Doctor's era. Today I'm looking at the Seeds of Death. So yes, the Seeds of Death, the, I believe, third to last Patrick Troughton story and the third to last story of season 6. The second story to feature the Ice Warriors as the main villains after the Ice Warriors, their original story, I believe, in season 5. Early in season 5, I think it was, so sort of a year and a half or 2 years ago in terms of the show, when the episodes aired back in 1967 and 69, I believe. And we're watching this again. I had seen it in the past, probably quite a while ago, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years ago. But watching it again, I actually really enjoyed it, and I think it probably is a better episode and a better story than the first one, than the Ice Warriors. This story, of course, centres around this whole TMAT system that's been set up on Earth at some point in the 21st century. They're very vague by just saying it's the 21st century, so we really don't know when it's meant to be set. But this cool idea of a TMAT system, a sort of a teleport system essentially around the Earth that can teleport people and teleport lots of goods and stuff like that instantly, which means you don't need planes, you don't need rockets, you don't need cars, you don't need anything, you just use TMAT for all your travel. Which sounds a great idea until it all goes wrong, which it does in this episode, obviously, and then the world gets driven to chaos almost as there's no food supply able to be sent around anymore or anything like that because it's all gone down. Helpfully, it's all controlled from the moon. You have to be on the moon to control it. And then, of course, the Ice Warriors go and attack that place, take control, and it's all going rather wrong. So yes, this does feel like a story that has a reasonable amount of scale, even if it is focused mainly on what this sort of TMAT control base on Earth and the one in the moon. But there is also a little bit of location filming in this story, which is fantastic, by the way. And it just feels like there's enough locations. I think the only thing maybe lacking is any sort of shots of the people of the Earth in panic because there's no food or anything. We hear reports on whatever this sort of computer system that starts talking all the time is, and a sort of global map with a few flashing lights. That's about the extent of Earth in chaos. But that's fine. That's the nature of having a low budget for a classic Doctor Who story. And I think given the budget, they do a pretty damn good job in this story. Of course, to some degree, it's the sort of classic Ice Warrior storyline of them wanting to inhabit the Earth, convert it into basically a Mars-like planet so that they can come and take it over and live on it to destroy all the humans. And yeah, a fairly classic alien plot, really, of any, not just the Ice Warriors, but any aliens from Doctor Who. But that's fine. I think it still works in this story. It's quite interesting. Their sort of plot of using the TMAT system to their own advantage by using these weird seed pods, which are just balloons, obviously, that are getting blown up, that are going to emit a load of foam that's going to kill everybody or suffocate everybody, essentially, and they'll all die. Then all the Ice Warriors will turn up in their spaceships, come through on TMAT, and take over the planet. It sounds a pretty simple, infallible idea, doesn't it, really? Of course, it doesn't work out. The Doctor saves the day, as he always does, tricking the Ice Warriors with a homing beacon that sends all the Ice Warriors into the sun, I think, and all around the sun, so they all get killed. The various Ice Warriors at the moon base get killed as well, and all the foam is dispersed by water, because water destroys the foam, apparently. Kind of a flaw in the Ice Warriors' plan, given that the Earth is 70% water, and you create a deadly sort of balloon or deadly seed that's destroyed by water. So yeah, maybe didn't quite think that bit through so well. But yes, looking at the sort of different aspects of the story, I think the Ice Warriors themselves were a really strong asset of this story. I thought it was good that compared to the first Ice Warriors story, we had the introduction of this Ice Lord, I think it's called, I believe, called Slar, who's sort of more of the kind of leader, the controller of the various Ice Warriors. And I think his costume's really good. That sort of helmet, more of a helmet style than a proper headpiece that we see with the Ice Warriors. That actual human sort of mouth from around here that's all you can see, just all crackly, as if it's sort of Ice Warrior skin style, which I think is really good. One thing I think it definitely benefits is in terms of the sort of communication and the voice, because I did find at times in the first Ice Warrior story that the voice was a little bit difficult to hear and understand with the constant and everything between every single word. It was sometimes a little bit either grating or a little bit difficult to understand. So I think it was good having an Ice Warrior with a slightly more human voice in this story, which just meant a lot of the conversation was more easy to understand, I found. So that was a sort of a production benefit, I guess, and an audience benefit in that regard. And the Ice Warriors themselves, using basically the same costume they did in the previous one, though dropping one of the two designs of Ice Warriors and focusing just on a single design, unlike the previous story with both of them. I think what always is, they can always be utilised very well if they are filmed in the right way. And I give a hats off to director Michael Ferguson in this story, who did, I think, a really good job throughout of making it very interesting, I think the key thing is making the Ice Warriors a threat throughout this story. There's a nice little brief sort of documentary on the DVD about that he talks about the various stories he's filmed and the little sort of tactics that he uses. And we notice it here in the Seeds of Death. He uses these POV shots from the point of view of the Ice Warriors in episode 1, so as not to reveal the whole creature straight away, which I think is it's always a classic way to be able to build up the tension and build up this mystery about this evil monster that's killing people, but we can't even see it because we're seeing it from its point of view. I think that's a brilliant idea. Then the location filming is fantastic, particularly that shot looking up into the sun with the Ice Warrior walking towards you and the sun. And so you normally would never point a camera into the sun because it completely screws all the lighting and it looks terrible. But actually in this, it works brilliantly because then it just leaves this dark sort of silhouetted figure of an Ice Warrior walking towards you and looks from a low angle shot as well, so it looks in a real dominant position and just such a sort of evil threat, I think. And so, yeah, there's just lots of little moments, lots of use of low angle shots to be able to give the Ice Warriors that extra sort of sense of control and power, and the villain of the piece. It's clear that Michael Ferguson really knows how to direct any TV or any film, particularly in Doctor Who. He's really got it down to a T. So I think that's really effective. The music, I think, also works really, really nicely. Dudley Simpson once again doing the score for this episode with lots of lovely sort of instrumental, just rather quirky and bizarre pieces, but really fit that sort of... They're very much, I think, brought from the Ice Warriors, the previous Ice Warriors story. There's a lot of sort of vibe, but just a kind of icy vibe, I think, if that's a real word for music. Or just those sort of female vocal choral sort of sounds that are introduced within the music as well. And I don't know, it just reminds me of the Ice Warriors, of snow, of sort of ice caves and things like that. It just all has that vibe to it, I think, which just fits the Ice Warriors so perfectly. In terms of the Doctor and companions, there's a few nice moments in this story. It feels like particularly Jamie is maybe a little bit underused. I can't quite remember, but I have a feeling this story wasn't massively written with Jamie in mind. I'm not sure if there was a production issue with him potentially not being in the story or something like that, but it just felt like he didn't really have a huge amount to do throughout this story. Kind of got a little bit left into the sidelines through a lot of it, which isn't a problem necessarily, but it's just sometimes noticeable. Also worth noting that Patrick Troughton's Doctor was also missing for an episode after he seemingly got knocked out by one of the seed pods. I think it was end of episode 3, I believe, and so he missed. Clearly he was on holiday, so he missed all of episode 4. The classic pull the main character out, find a reason to get him out of the story for a week so that the actor can have a holiday, because they needed it when they're doing it like 50 odd weeks a year, ridiculously long hours and everything like that. So that was noticeable, but other than that, the Doctor had a few nice sort of moments of little fun, quirky moments, which is what I think the second Doctor's all about, just having... He's always able to bring a kind of light-hearted moment to a very serious situation, but then also come in and save the day at the end as well, which is just really a really sort of fun way to play the character, I think, in terms of he can have loads of fun, but also defeat the monsters. It's kind of the perfect combination, and once again we see in the Seeds of Death. In terms of a story, as I said, it's not one that is an all-time classic, but I do think it's one of the stronger Second Doctor stories that I've seen. I definitely put it, towards the higher end. It's probably you're looking at a sort of 7.5, 8 out of 10 story. It's not your 10 out of 10 classic, but it's also not awful. I do think it's better than the Ice Warriors, the first story. I just think that it's kind of feels more finely tuned in this story. Having having Slar in this episode, I think just adds a little bit extra to it. The Ice Warriors are filmed better, as I say, as well. And I think all the aspects just combine into a more interesting story to be told on this particular occasion. And so I think as a piece of television 50 years on, it works pretty effectively to me. But what about you guys? Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the Seeds of Death. Do you think it's better than the Ice Warriors or worse? How would you compare it to the Peladon stories as well to come in the future, which are kind of Ice Warrior stories, but not really? I guess, so maybe even comparing it to something like Cold War or The Empress of Mars in the very long, very far future from this point of view, in terms of New Who Ice Warrior stories. How do they compare? I think possibly, for me, the Seeds of Death is my favourite story to feature the Ice Warriors over the Peladon stories, over the original one, over both the New Who ones. I think this is probably the best for me. But I'd love to hear what you guys think are your best. Let me know down in the comments below. But other than that, that's just about it from this video. I won't be reviewing the Space Pirates. I felt it's only one episode that's actually existing, and 5 reconstructions. It's not exactly a highly regarded story, so it didn't really feel like one that, for now at least, I'm going to try and tackle. So next time, hopefully next week, I'll be back reviewing the finale, the final Patrick Troughton story, the absolute whopper of a story, the War Games. So yes, I hope you guys are looking forward to that, but remember to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again soon for that video and many more. Goodbye!